Good afternoon. My name is Frank Aba-Onu, president of the Minnesota Association of Black Lawyers. As we draw nearer to the opening statements for the Derek Chauvin trial, one of the things that I wanted to do, and MABL wants to do, is to provide insight into some of the processes and some of the things that are currently happening. Part of the mission of MABL is for racial equity, especially for the Black community. And we see that as making sure that there's full transparency as we go through this whole criminal justice process with the murder of George Floyd. So there are two key issues that came up to me of late with this trial. The first one was with Judge Cahill first originally decided that he would not allow any evidence from the 2019 arrest of Mr. Floyd to come in, but recently has said that he will allow limited testimony dealing directly with his interactions with drugs he may have taken. And I think that that's sort of a red herring and troubling in some extent. As we know, there is an 8.5-minute video where Mr. Chauvin put his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck and he died. Now, there's going to be testimony as to what were the causes of that death, but I find it very difficult to find or to use how some arrest in 2019, no matter how similar they may argue it to be, has any effect on the death of Mr. Floyd in 2020. So to us, that is a little bit troubling, but again, we see that as a red herring, something that should not play a part in this case. Again, we do not want to re-victimize a victim. The goal here is justice for an act that happened in May 2020. Another issue that came up is this view that it's David versus Goliath. When you're watching this trial, you see that the prosecution, the state, has many people on their bench, so to speak, supporting and providing assistance. And then when you look at the defense, they have one person, and that's Eric Nelson, who is the attorney for Mr. Chauvin. But again, that's something that's perceived, but not necessarily true. Let's start with the prosecution. The prosecution, especially when Governor Walz appointed Attorney General Keith Ellis into this case, he made one specific statement. He wanted to use the resources of the state to ensure that justice will be done in this particular instance. And as you can tell, they have a heavy bench. And there's a catch-22. If they didn't have a heavy bench, you would have people saying, are they using enough resources? But I think the state wanted to make something specifically clear. We are taking this seriously. We do want to affect justice, and we'll use our resources to do so. I have no problem with that. I think that's useful time and energy, and I'm hoping that justice will come about. Now, here's the defense. They want you to believe it's David versus Goliath. They want you to believe it's one versus the many. And in some respects, I think Judge Cahill is reflecting that in some of his decisions and statements. But the truth is that Mr. Nelson was hired by the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association. Included there's the other officers also received attorneys through that association as well too. All those attorneys, they work together. They brainstorm and consult with each other throughout the trial. Also, there's a heavy bench as part of the association. There are 8 other attorneys in that rotation who work with Mr. Nelson to assist him in this case. And Mr. Nelson has access to use of force experts, medical experts, and the list goes on. So though it looks like he's there by himself, he is not. He has his heavy bench of team members who are assisting him in this case too. Now, why is this important? Perception is key. Again, the defense wants you to believe that it's David versus Goliath. The state wants you to see the truth, understand that they're putting their resources to effect justice and to get the prosecution that they hope that they would receive. So what does MABL want you to see? The truth. Again, this case is being televised, full transparency. We want everyone to have the opportunity to see justice unfold and hold people accountable when it's not. Thank you.